Welcome to the Bushido Gang. What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's AttackonSamurott, bringing you all my tournament review game for DPP Cup. Now, I wanted to record this match because I feel like this was actually a really good series that I played in for DPP. I played against this player known as Estarossa, and Estarossa is a fairly high-rated player. I believe he's played in some fairly high Smogon tours, and have also played and also has played in a World Cup. So he's a very talented player. I will say that, or a very high-rated player. I'll say that. So when I got paired up with him for round one for this tour, I was just like, man, I don't know how I feel, especially after I played my especially because like at the time when I was playing Estarossa, it was actually right after I played my my ADV Cup match, which I lost to. So I really wasn't like too highly on this game. I kind of was just in the mindset of let's just get it over with. Like that's kind of how I saw it, really, which is not really a great mindset to have, but like I was just so done with this tour, or really with tours at that moment, that I was just like, you know what, let's just see what happens. If I make it, I make it. If I don't, I don't. So that's kind of how I went into this game against Estarossa. But still, I felt pretty good about playing him anyway. So or afterwards, I felt pretty good about playing him. Not after the game, but I'm saying like afterwards. Like after I, pretty much committed to it, I was just like, you know what, I'll play it out and see what happens. So yeah, I believe I actually got a pep talk from, I think it was Bluebird that I was talking to about that. I was just like, man, I don't want to play this game. I don't want to play this. But he just said, just play it and see what happens. I think even Eric helped me out as well with that too, if I recall. Again, this was like months back. When I said I was gonna take a break, which I did end up taking a break in September after my tour game for DPP. But yeah, again, I'm sorry about all the background knowledge and all that. Let's actually get into the game and talk about it. So before we get started, please make sure to leave a like and comment on the video, letting me know your thoughts on, I guess give me your thoughts on, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Like, are you still gonna get those games or not? And if you are, I guess like what's your team gonna be like? I'd like to know that in the comments below. Like, if you're gonna get the Diamond and Pearl remix, what's your team gonna be like? I don't really have an idea of what my team's gonna be like. Besides, I'm gonna pick Turtwig first, because that was again like the first starter I picked up when I got Pokemon Diamond back in like 2000. It was definitely during it was like 3rd grade, I think. It was 3rd grade when I got that game. Crazy, but yeah. Sorry about that. Let's actually get into the game. So it was a best of 3, and I ended up making the series a best of 3 as well. So I'm gonna say that. So I guess that's kind of a spoiler now. I did manage to win 1 game against him, but you guys will find out which one that is, of course, throughout this series. But yeah. Not really gonna say too much about what teams I had, except for the first one. This one right here, this game right here. I'm gonna say that the team I had was actually one of my favorite teams that I've been using, that I've used on ladder a couple times, and also I've been using, and also I used again with my friends, with Gallade and with Eric back in that one vid, when I figured out whatever that guy's team was. If you've seen that video, if you haven't seen the video, I'll just leave the link at the top of the description, but at the top of the video, I mean, but yeah, I'm using Vay's team for this one. And again, I like that team a lot. It's very consistent, and it's pretty simple to use, honestly. And I felt like, you know what, I don't really have much to lose if I use this team for turn 1 or for game 1. So that's kind of how I went down with it. Estarossa, I'm gonna say that for this game, he brought a pretty bulky team for the first game, which I didn't really expect. I thought maybe, well, for one, at this point, I didn't really know. Like, I know who Estarossa is. I know of him. But I didn't really see too many replays of what he uses, so I kind of went in blindly against him. But you're going to find out what kind of team he has. So turn 1, I lead with Metagross as he leads with Nidoqueen. So Nidoqueen lead, I'm gonna say it now. Nidoqueen lead usually means that his team's gonna be the opponent's team's gonna be fairly bulky. Gonna be more closer. Gonna be leaning more towards a stall team more than like a balanced team. So after seeing the Nidoqueen lead, I kind of had that mindset of, okay, so this is gonna be a very bulky team, just by the Nidoqueen lead, because what he's gonna do, what Estarossa wants to do, is he wants to get T-Spike down early, against me. That way he can start pressuring my mons that get affected by poison, which will allow him to have a better chance in sweeping with his back mons, or with his mons in the back, or with his faster mons in the back. I mean, so yeah. So I get an early Earthquake off, and I'm also faster than the Nidoqueen as well as he gets the T-Spike down there. He switches into Skarmory as I go for Earthquake again. So what I do here is I go Infernape. Now Infernape is actually a bad play. I'm gonna say it now. This is actually a bad play going Ape right here this early. But again, my team, I don't really have much of a choice. I mean, I do have Lottie. I could have went Lottie on the Skarmory. I'm just gonna show the team, by the way, just to like not make it just so you guys can actually like visually see what the team I have is. So this is the team. So it's right here. The V team I was using against Estarossa for game 1. So I have Metagross, Scizor, Tar, Ape, Rotom, and Lottie. Now with this team, right, I didn't really have a good switching on T-Spikes. You could argue, oh, why didn't you go Scizor there? Well, Scizor didn't really feel safe because I don't know if he just wanna, I mean, like, I don't know what else he has. I don't know if he has a mag. I don't know anything here. And also, setting up with Scizor against Skarmory just doesn't seem very smart because he can just phase me out. So Ape seemed like the most immediate option for me to go for, which is why I made the Ape play. You could have even argued I could have went Rotom too, but Rotom isn't that safe because I don't know if he has a Tar. Like usually teams that have teams like these have a Tar here, to to remove the Ghost type. But yeah, so bringing Ape seemed like the safest play for me. So I decided to go with Ape, and that's what I did. So he gets a Spike down as I get Poison on the switch. He brings in Starmie as I go for Fire Blast on the switch too, as I go for Fire Blast. As Estarossa switches in Starmie on that. So yeah. So seeing that Fire Blast damage tells me that his Starmie is going to be very bulky. Because I'm going to show you like some calculating real quick. That Starmie usually takes quite a bit, an offensive Starmie would take a lot more from that, but seeing how much damage that did, that told me that his Starmie was fairly bulky. So let me just show you the calc how much Fire Blast normally does, or how much Infernape can do with Fire Blast. So a mixed variant without the Life Orb, let's say it's we have the Expert Belt on that. So Expert Belt, so E-Belt Fire Blast hit 29 to 35%. So that's how much it would do to a more defensively oriented Starmie. Now if we go to one that's more offensive, Starmie would take a lot more damage from that. And that also would tell me like what kind of team he's running. But yeah, he has more of a defensively oriented Starmie. So Fire Blast doesn't do very much damage, and he can get in. And I pretty much have to go Lottie here. So I go Lottie here as he goes for the Surf. Now what Lottie does is that Lottie can actually put some offensive pressure on him. I don't know what kind of special wall he has on this team yet. But I am being very cautious because I don't know if he's gonna go Tar or not. I don't know if he has a Tar or not. But the safest play I have to go for here is Surf, since I am Specs on this. So Specs Surf will do a decent chunk to Tar, if he does bring it in. It does cover pretty much everything else though, for the most, it can cover a lot of other mons for the most part. But as you can see, defensively he doesn't take Surf very well from Nidoqueen or from Skarmory, so he has to switch into. He could either stay in, predicting me to Surf, or again he can just go into his into whatever his special wall is. So what I do is I switch and go Metagross. Now, again, I made that switch because I was predicting Tar. That's the only reason why I made that switch. Surf isn't exactly safe on Starmie, but Starmie doesn't usually stay in, or shouldn't stay in, on Lottie, unless it's faster, which apparently that Starmie wasn't very fast. And again, judging by how much Fire Blast did, according to the defensive calc, he might not have a lot of speed on that Starmie. So again, him switching there kind of gives some information as well, on what kind of Starmie he is, and again what kind of team he's running. So him switching in the Heatran there is fine. But also that kind of tells me now, or that kind of told me at this point, that he might not have a Tar. Because if he did have a Tar, he would have went into it to stop Lottie from doing anything. Because again, defensively Starmie, or defensively Lottie would be like the better switch on would be the better switch anyway. But yeah, I bring in Meta here. Meta Sash, so my Sash gets broken. But what he can do is go Skarmory as I go for the Boom on the switch. So I went Boom there because it did cover pretty much everything, and also I don't know if his Heatran's fast or not. So if I went for Earthquake, it would have been cool, but like at the same time, Booming is just better. And I was pretty much sacking Meta to open up for Lottie again. Only reason why I made that play. But yeah, Boom pretty much gave me a lot. Was able to basically remove the Skarmory. So yeah, now what I can do is bring in Rotom. So I brought in Rotom because again, I really wanted to try and bait that Tar. So that's why I brought it in on the following turn. So yeah, I bring it in, then I switch it back and bring in Tar on the following turn here. As what he's gonna do is he's gonna switch and go Nidoqueen. So again, he doesn't have a Tar here. Just seeing by how he's playing. What I'm gonna do now with Tar is on turn 9, I go for Rocks here. Now, you could have said, Samurott, why didn't you just attack him? Attacking him would have been better. Well, you're right. You're right. Attacking him would be better here if I just attacked him on turn 9 instead of actually going for Rocks. Because I'm going to show you this right now, that my Tar actually has a cut set berry. Now, if I went for Earthquake there, it would have done a lot. It would have done a lot, at least. And I still would have got Rocks on anyway. Or I would have got Rocks on the following turn anyway. But like, it's kind of a vice versa thing. But definitely going for damage would have been better. That way I could have actually gotten a little bit more momentum off. Because he could have gotten another spike down too. If I just attacked him. Or had I just attacked him, you know. Or if I didn't attack him. Or I mean, if I attacked him, instead of actually going for the Rocks on the first turn. Then he would have been forced to attack me instead of actually going for that third layer, or for that second layer. But I guess he could have went for a Suicide T-Spike anyway, in case he's predicting me to be Cut Sap. But yeah, I think going for Rocks was safe, or was going for EQ first and then going for Rocks would have been safer. But going for Rocks and then EQing, I feel like they didn't give me too much, but I still got the Rocks on, which is important. So now what I can do is I can go into Lottie here, and Lottie can put some offensive pressure on him. He reveals the special wall, which is going to be Umbreon, and Umbreon takes that serve fairly well. So what I can do here is I can go into Ape, as I do bring in Ape here, as my timer was going down quite a bit, because I was trying to think about, okay, so I was really trying to think about, okay, how do I maneuver around this? So yeah, my timer was going down. I bring in Ape, and now he goes for a Wish there. So he wishes there. Ape has to take poison damage plus sand, and that's not really too great. Ape getting worn down this early, or getting worn down, like, again, almost 15 turns in. Over 10 turns into the game. Doesn't feel that great, but again, his team, Estarossa's team, is just here, or just there to, apply pressure to me. Again, applying pressure with the T-Spike plus the Sand Chip. So, my own Sand Chip is kind of hitting me. It's kind of hurting me, though, but the T-Spike definitely just adds on to that. So, yeah. So, what he's going to do is he's going to protect to see what I go for. I go for a Grass Knot. Now, I went for Grass Knot because I thought maybe he'd want to go for, he want to go on a Starmie on CC. That's why I made the Grass Knot play. But he's able to capitalize on that and just protect there anyway, which again is fine. Now what I can do is go for a CC, because CC should drop the Nidoqueen afterwards, but I believe I went for Fire Blast instead, because I wasn't sure if CC would kill, at 18%. But I can do the calc right now just to show you guys if it did kill, but I'm pretty sure it didn't, because Nidoqueen runs a lot of bulk. Like, they are very, very bulky. So, I believe CC wasn't going to drop. Yeah, it wasn't going to drop. It is 14 to 17%. So, going for Grass Knot, or even going for Fire Blast was definitely the better option I had. But yeah, he just had to sack Nidoqueen at that point because he didn't have much of a defensive answer for Ape anyway. So pretty much I have to sack Ape here. as Ape is going to get sacked to the Starmie, as I just attack him because I don't want him to get a spin off. And if he did get the spin off, one, I don't know if that actually would have killed me. I don't think spin would have killed. But I do know for one thing though that his Starmie is actually fast. So that's a very fast Starmie. So it might have been something more on the lines of this. So again, the Fire Blast damage showing how much that did. And spin definitely wouldn't have killed me. So he had to attack me there. So he had to attack me. He knocks out my Ape. So Ape going down isn't the worst thing in the world. It does suck that an offensive mon like Ape going down this early, or going down 15 turns in, does suck. Because again, looking at his team right now, just looking at how much pressure Ape would have done, it's actually insane. It's actually quite insane. So again, him getting the C-Spike down pretty much stopped any momentum I had with Ape. So yeah, that plus Sand Chip too. But again, the Sand doesn't. Well, the Sand does matter though, for at least like Starmie and for Umbreon. But against my team though, it definitely hurts me a little bit more here in this matchup. But yeah. So what I have to do here is I have to go Lottie. Wait, no, I mean Rotom. My bad. So I go Rotom here. So Rotom Scarfed. Scarf Rotom could definitely apply some pressure with Thunderbolt. But also again, I need to see if maybe they have another ground. But usually it wouldn't be another ground. But also like there's potential that he could have a Hippowdon too. Because again, like the way his team is functioning, like there should be some kind of like Sand Setter here to apply more pressure with T-Spikes. So again, I'm still thinking that there's a Tar here, or again some kind of ground. So that's why I go for the trick here on the following turn, because I'm trying to catch whatever special ball would come in. If I catch Umbreon, that's good too, because with Umbreon being checked like that, that can actually help out my Lottie a lot better, and that can also help on my Scizor as well. So I go for trick here, and I catch a Clef. Now catching Clef is probably the best case, because Clef can do a lot of nasty things. Could be a Calm Mind setter, could just toss, can knock off too. Like that's what Clef likes to do. So Clef being able to knock me off and everything definitely would suck, or definitely does suck. But being able to remove his lefties and having it locked into a move is definitely worth it too. So I get lefties and he's locked into whatever move he can do. I go for Thunderbolt, and Thunderbolt does a lot to that Clef, so Clef is not going to appreciate that. Knockoff is going to come down and remove my lefties. He brings in Umbreon as I go for Thunderbolt on the following turn. So Thunderbolt doing 20%, which is still decent, but not a lot, but really not a whole lot of damage. I go for it again, as he's going to go for the Taunting and miss. So what I do here is I go for the trick now to remove his lefties. So yeah, I remove lefties there. He goes for Wish there, and now I'm gonna say this now. I made a lot of misplays with this Scizor. Now this Scizor, as you're looking at it right now, it looks like it just sweeps, right? It looks like it just sweeps, doesn't it? Now, I'm not gonna lie to you. I was very nervous with Scizor at this point, because I know if I make one right play, if I make this one right play and go for Superpower, it's over. It's actually over. Scizor just wins. Legit, Scizor just wins in this matchup, because Skarmory's weakened. Plus 2 SD can't finish it off. Plus 2 SD can definitely deal with Starmie, and Starmie's pretty much forced to go for T-Wave Paras. And Clef will pretty much get bodied by, again, BP anyway. So really the only check he has at this point is the Heatran. Again, if I can make this call and I can get the superpower off on the Heatran, then I can win. But it's so hard to do it. So he goes for Taunting on my Rotom switch. And now what I do is I go for the SD as he brings in Skarmory. So I go for the SD, he sacks Skarmory there, and he's forced to go Heatran on the following turn. So he sacks it, Heatran comes in on the next turn, and I have to switch and go into Lottie. I have to switch and go Lottie. Now, in case you're new to this, in case you're new to DPP, Rotom is not a switch into this, because in Gen 4, Rotom is Electric and Ghost. It is not Electric and Water. So Rotom is not a safe switch on Heatran. In this case. So with Lottie being in here to take the fire attack, there's also a chance of me getting burned as well. So there's a whole lot of things that are happening at this point. Now what I have to do here is I have to go for Surf. I could switch back into Scizor as well, or even go Rotom too. Well, actually Rotom isn't that safe because he has dark coverage. He has a dark type move on that Umbreon. So I have to go for Surf here. Like, I have to. I have no other choice but going for Surf. So I go for Surf. He brings in Clef, and Clef is dying. So he sacks the Clef there to allow him a free switch into Umbreon afterwards. So again, that was a smart play on his part to sack it and then bring in Umbreon afterwards. Or Starmie to spin. But I go Rotom on the switch. Actually, no, I go Scizor on the switch. My bad. I go Scizor on the switch. As he's going to go for the Surf there. So I only went Scizor because I thought he'd go for recovery. But again, Estarossa wants to apply pressure to me. So he's going to do that against my Lottie. Because he wants to make sure that he can beat Lottie with Heatran. Or his Heatran can beat my Lottie. So he wants to get as much chip on that as he can. So yeah, I bring in Scizor here. And now this is kind of the moment where I should be clicking Superpower, but I can't do it. I can't do it. It doesn't feel safe for me to do it yet. He does go Heatran there as I go for the Roost there. So I go for the Roost to keep Scizor healthy. But yeah, I have to go back on the Lottie again, and he knows that. He's just going to keep applying pressure with Lava Plume. So Lava Plume coming down again, no burn, thankfully. But I am getting heavily chipped. Starmie comes in here as I go for Surf there. And now what I do is I go Rotom on the following turn, as he's going to try and get the spin off. But I say no to that, so I block his spin there with Rotom. And now I can just Thunderbolt him and knock him out. As he goes for the Surf there, of course. He goes for the Surf, and I knock him out with the Thunderbolt afterwards. So now Umbreon can come in here. So Umbreon comes in here as I go for Thunderbolt again. Thunderbolt doing a decent chunk. I'm trying to get a Para, actually. Yeah, I was trying to fish for a Para, but I couldn't get the Para. But I just keep going for it, maybe going for a crit. Payback knocks me out. And now it's Scizor time. So this is the play where I should be clicking Superpower, but I can't do it. I just can't do it. Let me show you the calc real quick on how much Scizor can actually do to Heatran. So a bulky SD Scizor, which runs Superpower, not U-turn. I don't know why U-turn's there. That's some old shit. Let's put Superpower on that real quick. So Superpower against Heatran. Again, I'm assuming that his Heatran is more of a support one, or actually it's like a fairly fast one. So let's say something like, well, actually not that. That's definitely not it. Let's say something like, let's say something that's more on the lines of like Tormentran. Granted, this wouldn't be it, but still something like this. That's like fairly fast. So Superpower is still good. But the problem is that, well, actually it's not. Well, no, the problem is that he hasn't been chipped enough yet. But also, well, no, it really is that he hasn't been chipped enough yet. But another thing is that I need to click Superpower. Like I had two opportunities to click Superpower and I missed it. I missed all of them. I just couldn't do it. I really should have, but I needed Scizor as my win con, cause Umbreon can beat Lottie very easily. But again, I just couldn't do it, and I went for SD. And because I went for SD, and also he's faster too, I just die. So yeah, it's so hard to make these plays, man. It really is. Like, it looks so, like, it looks easy. It looks easy from the audience's perspective when you're just like, man, why did you click it? But when you're the player in this situation, I don't know why, but it just felt difficult for me to click this, for me to click Superpower here. It just did. If I did it, I probably just won with Scizor right there. Like, cause, well, no, not really, because of Sand. So it's not exactly that easy. But yeah, I go for Draco in case he switched. But yeah, he didn't need to switch. He didn't need to. For one, Surf wasn't even killing him. And yeah, so that's pretty much gonna be the game. And I ended up losing this first game. But yeah, I guess like a tip of advice or some advice, with this team, especially fighting Heatran, or I guess like a team like this, is that I think you should really apply pressure as much as you can, especially with Scizor. Like, I wanted Scizor as the win con, and I mean, it really was the win con. It really was, but I just couldn't apply pressure with Superpower when I should have. Like, on the Starmie turn, on the initial Starmie turn when I went for Roost, I could have actually just Superpowered there because I can Roost up on his Umbreon fairly safely. And my Lottie was still fairly healthy too, so there were definitely ways around this. And technically, the Heatran being as low as it would have been, again, if we're saying, again, I'm saying if he's something like this, if he's something like a Torment Tran, or even something like, again, a more supportive one. Well, not this supportive, because that's not the case, but something like, I'm trying to find like a actual set. I guess the Spadef one, which is still faster than this anyway. I still think the damage would have been worth it. I do think the damage would have been worth it anyway. But yeah, just gonna do it. If I did it, I had a decent shot of winning on this turn here too. This turn definitely a big one. Because again, that 72% would have been really nice. That would have been really nice chip. Or I mean, that would have been really good damage for me. But yeah, it's really tough to make plays like that. But yeah, I hope you guys, like took something from this game. But let's dive into game 2. So game 2, also, how much time am I running at? Ooh, 25 minutes, nice. Okay, so game 2. This one was interesting, right? So the team I have for this one, I believe, was a rain team. I don't remember what Estarossa's team was, but I think he ran a more offensive one compared to the last team. Which again makes sense because you want to change up your team every time you play. You don't want to use the same team. You don't want to make it like a pattern, So yeah, so game 2 I brought a more offensive team compared to Vay's team. This team I believe I picked up from Blue, so Blue passed me this team, Bluebird I mean. So yeah, let's dive into game 2. So game 2 we have Tar versus Pert lead. So Tar on Pert is a lead that favors my Pert, of course, because well, it could be either way. Like the Tar could be like some fast HP grass variant, which would be pretty funny. But yeah, usually Tar lead is gonna mean rocks, so he's gonna get his rocks up or just switch out and go into his resist. Yeah, you just go into Gengar, I guess predicting Earthquake or whatnot. But I go for rocks here. The rocks are really good. He goes for the burn and misses. That burn would have been pretty big actually if he landed that. Since I believe that this Swampert has a lot of attack investment. Let me see if I can find that team. Because again, Bluebird passed me that team a while back. Here it is. So yeah, this one's a more physically oriented Swampert. So if I did get burned, I mean, it would suck because I wouldn't be able to Earthquake, I mean, I wouldn't do as much damage to the Nidoqueen as I would be able to now with it not getting burned. And also I could pressure the Tar as well. So with the rocks being down, that does help against the Gar too. With it getting chipped down, so that's still pretty good for me. But yeah, I do force the Nidoqueen after the roar, and that's pretty good for me as well. Now what I could do is go for Earthquake, as I do go for it, as he goes for a T-Spike there. So what this told me is that his Nidoqueen, well actually this Pert's very fast too, by the way. That's one thing to note, this Pert is very fast, and that is a very slow Nidoqueen. But actually I don't think the Nidoqueen speed doesn't matter too much. Again, this thing's mostly defensive, so it doesn't really need to worry about speed too much. But yeah, us being faster than getting that Earthquake off is definitely huge. So now Nidoqueen's going to be chipped, which is nice. I can go for a Roar here since he's going to switch anyway, or I could Earthquake again. I believe I went for Roar anyway. But he goes for Protect there. So yeah, he does Tech there on the Roar. And I either do it again or I Earthquake here. I'm pretty sure I went for it again. Nope, I Ice Punched. Okay, I think I went for Ice Punch predicting Gar. That's probably why I did it there, because I thought he'd go into some, ground immune. Yeah, he does go for Clef there and gets, and it takes the Ice Punch very well. So this is a very defensive Clef as well. What I do is I go Rose, and Rose can absorb the T-Spike as he switches into Skarmory. So that was a good call on his end. Probably predicting, some like, something to handle Clef. So again, Rose was a good poison immunity, but it wasn't really a good mon to take knockoff, to be fair. So I don't know if Rose was actually that safe of a switch. Heatran would have been good too. Heatran actually would have been a pretty good switch as well. Had I went for it, because that would have also applied pressure to the Clef, to the Skarm, to the Nido, even to Gar and Tar. So I think Heatran would have been safe as well, but I didn't think about that. I thought about the T-Spike, because I want the T-Spike removed for Pert, so that's why I made my play. So yeah, Rose is in, but this Skarmory can do whatever it wants and attack me. I go for Sleep Powder and miss, as he goes for a Brave Bird and knocks me out. So in hindsight, letting Rose go down wasn't the best option. And even going for Sleep Powder, I mean, going for Sleep Powder was okay, but I have a Heatran. I had a Heatran. I could have went into that, but I'm not sure what else he has. But getting something to sleep would have been worth it though. So the way how I see this now, I definitely made a bad call going Rose. That was a really, really terrible call. Heatran was definitely better. And you're going to see that I actually go into it now, which was really late. But yeah, Tar comes in. I go for Fire Blast and miss, which is, expected. I go Pert here as he goes for Rocks. And now what I do is I go for the Roar here on the Gar switch, or I went for Ice Punch. Nope, I roared again. So I roared again. Tar's back taking more chip, which is what I want. He goes into Skarm here as I go for the Ice Punch on the switch. Get some damage on the Skarmory, but Skarmory's gonna Skarmory's gonna take that fairly well. Go Heatran here as he goes for a Spike there. Now what he can do is go Tar again, as I believe I went for the Earth Power there, so I go for Earth Power, and I believe he's in Cut Sap range now. Actually, no, he's barely out of Cut Sap range. So he goes for Gar here as I go for the Earth Power again, and he catches me on that. What he can do is go for Focus Blast or even go for a Sub here too. What I do is I just stand here and let Heatran take the hit. I go for the Fire Blast and I knock out the Gar. So Gar dies, which is really good for me. Rachi's in here. Now Rachi being in here is very scary. It's very scary. Because the reason why this is so scary is because I let my Heatran take so much damage. And I let my Heatran take so much damage, almost dying, and I also just lost one of my best steal answers. So this Jirachi is really dumb. This Jirachi is very dumb. Like there's two things that Estarossa got out of this. He has a sack with Cut Sap. He has a Rachi, and he was also able to get the trade off. So him getting the trade off and him keeping a sack is so good for him right now. And it's really bad for me that I lost Heatran. And I mean, basically I went for a 2, like I'm going with the, I basically have like 2 mons down at this point because Heatran's dead now. So I definitely shouldn't have made the Rose call that early when I did. Like that was a very, very bad play on my end. To be honest, offensively, Rose is really good here too because it covered the Tar and it covered Nidoqueen too. And I believe that it didn't have HP. It didn't have HP Fire, but it still would have been able to at least like maybe sleep the Jirachi depending on the set, of course. But yeah, that trade really hurt me. Letting Rose go down really hurt me, and letting Heatran take all that damage and also go down the rocks also hurts me as well. So yeah, I have to sack Heatran here. So I sack it, he goes for Thunderbolt. So him revealing Thunderbolt was interesting to me. I wasn't really sure what that meant, because I don't usually see, for me, I don't usually see like Special Rachi that often. So seeing it right here was interesting. It kind of made me think that he might be running a Calm Mind sweeping set. Which if that is the case, that could be very deadly for me because my team is Rain, and this could actually beat that Rain if he is going to be a Calm Mind variant. So what I need to do is I need to keep Pert alive. I need Pert alive. Like, Pert is very important for this Jirachi, again, depending on the set, of course. So yeah, what I do is I go Rotom. So I go Rotom here as my timer's going down. I went Rotom here because I wanted to see, again, what this Jirachi can do. And also, I believe this was a trick one. Yeah, it is a trick one, Trick Wisp. So I could lock the Rachi in, forcing it into attacking again. Or again, I can lock the Nidoqueen in. Which locking Nidoqueen is something I was thinking about. I didn't really want to lock that in, but realistically, I don't really have a whole lot I can do against Rachi. I mean, I could burn it. I could burn it, which would also help with the Tar switch too. And burning it would also help against Nidoqueen as well. But Nidoqueen can get a T-Spike down. That's not what I want. So what I do here is, I believe I switch and go Pert on the Nidoqueen, as he is going to go Tar instead. Him going Tar was a very good play because now he can get his Cut Sap off. But he wasn't Cut Sap, which is the problem. He wasn't Cut Sap at all. So the Tar is dead though, at least, or almost dead. Skarmory comes in as I go for the roar there, and Nidoqueen is in now, and now I can Earthquake. But again, he can protect anyway, so he's gonna get his lefties back. As I go for Earthquake now, and now I either go for Earthquake again or I go for the phase. And I believe I went for Earthquake again. I don't knock out Nidoqueen, and he gets a T-Spike down. So this is horrible. This is really bad because my Kingdra in the back, since this is pretty much, again, I'm pretty much showing it now, this is basically a rain team. Kingdra is not going to be doing a whole lot now. Or, I mean, it can, but I have to be even more cautious. So, this sucks. This sucks tremendously. The T-Spike's down. I don't have a remover. He can go Skarmory and get another spike down. As I go for Earthquake here, and he could just phase. Or, I mean, I could phase, but he's just going to get his spike down. This is getting really, really bad. I get the phase off there as he brings in Clef, and Clef can go for Knock. He can do whatever it wants. I go Bronzong now as he is going to go for the Ice Beam. So him showing Ice Beam definitely tells me, okay, this team definitely seems more Calm Mind oriented. So go Skarmory there as I'm going to go for the Gyro Ball on the switch. And Gyro Ball does a really good chunk. It has a really good trunk actually. So I go Rotom here as he's going to go for the Roost there. And now what I can do is Thunderbolt again or even HP Ice. Granted, HP Ice doesn't feel safe. I'd rather go for Trick anyway. And he is going to catch me on that, and he's going to let me take the Poison, which is horrible. It's so bad. Because I have to take Poison plus Sledge Bomb, or plus he has Black Sledge damage. So, it is really rough out here. It's really rough. He gets the Double Protect as well, which is even worse. So, he gets the Double Protect. Rotom's taking a lot of damage. Tar comes in, gets sacked to the HP Ice. And pretty much my Rotom is dead at this point. So, yeah. He got a lot out of that. Clef comes in. I go for the... I think I went for the Rain Dance now. Yeah, I go for the Rain Dance now. Because at this point, I have to commit. I have to commit to it. I believe that this Rotom, or that this Bronzong had Boom. I might be wrong, though. It did have Boom. Yeah, it did have Boom. So, this is tough, right? This is tough. This is very tough now. Now, you're probably thinking, Samurott, why don't you just boom? Here's the problem. I can't boom. I can't boom. Because he's sacking Nidoqueen to open up for his Rachi or even open up for Clef. So, all I can really do is either go hard Kingdra, which is a horrible play, or I have to just Gyro Ball. Now, I believe I went for that. I believe I Gyro Balled or I just boom. Nope, I went hard Kingdra. So I have to take the Poison. He could phase me if he has it, but he just goes for Roost instead. So now he can just sack this, or again sack Nidoqueen to get even more chip on me, as he does do that. So he's going to sack the Nidoqueen there as I go for Pump. Now I have to go for Pump here. The reason why I have to go for Pump is because Pump can kill Clef and Rain, and it also kills the Rachi too. So what Kingdra has to do right now is land 3 Hydro Pumps in a row. Now, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about that. That shit is hard. That shit is difficult, man. Because, like, if I don't land it, I lose. I literally lose. If I don't land all 3 of them, I lose the game. Now, let's see if I can do it. Let's see if I can do it. So, I'm taking poison damage as well. Clef comes in. 1 pump, dead. 1 shot, dead. Clef, dead. Rachi's in. I have to land this one. If I don't, it's over. I land it, and that's GG. And that is the game. That is the game, practically. Well, not exactly, because he can... Well, yeah, he can live, too, and he can just Roost stall. But I don't die to the next one, I believe, yeah. If it was Toxic, I probably would have. Or if he got the second layer down, I definitely would have died to Toxic damage, or to Toxic poison, but, yeah. And Estarossa says, why do I never hit Hydro Pump that much? Yeah, I got hella lucky. I got very lucky. If I miss any of those, well, specifically the one on Rachi, it was over. It was over. I was losing. Because Bronzong can't really deal with Skarmory that well. I mean, I guess maybe I could force him to, like EQs at least. I could force him to Roost it a little bit, but like, he has no reason to do that. He could just phase me around. And yeah, I can't really stop that at that point. So I had to commit to the pump, and I landed all of them. Which is insane. Very, very insane. But still, At this point, this was a very good series. I was feeling pretty confident, honestly. I was feeling pretty confident. I was just like, man, maybe I could do it. Maybe I can actually move on at this point. Like, if I beat Estarossa, then I can potentially move on to the following round too. So yeah. So this is it. This game really mattered a lot. This game mattered so much. But still, I had to you know, compliment him on how he played on how he played Tar and Nidoqueen. Like, he played those two really well. Like, very, very well. Especially Nidoqueen. Like, there was a lot of mind gaming going on here. I really want, like, Rotom on its own was actually pretty good here too. But again, he knew that as well, which is why I just couldn't commit to going for a which is why I couldn't just commit to going for HPIs, because if I did, Rachi sets up or Clef sets up. Either of them set up if I go for HPIs, and I just couldn't commit to that, so that's why I had to go for the trick there. And that seemed like the best option, honestly. Still, like, having to sack Rotom there definitely did suck, but I mean, in the end, it did allow for Kingdra to kind of commit to the sweep. But yeah, just a whole lot of things that definitely could have been prevented. Again, Rose was the big one. Rose was actually the big one. I didn't need to go Rose on Clef. That was a horrible play. If anything, I think the trade you want to have is Clef on Heatran. I think that's a better trade. Especially seeing that this Clef is going to be a Calm Mind variant. Booming is free. Booming is free. Booming is very free. So yeah. We're not very free, but you get what I mean. Like, it applies a lot of pressure to him. So, I mean, Heatran on his own really just applied a lot of pressure to this team. But again, I didn't recognize that the first time I played it. But now I see why Heatran's so good, or why Heatran would have been really good in this matchup too. Removing Clef and removing a special wall would have really helped out my Kingdra even better. But yeah, that's gonna be game 2. So now we have game 3. Now, game 3, I'm going to let you know I'm using my favorite team. If you guys know the team, you know the team. I'm going to show it anyway for you guys that don't know the team. This was the team I used in game 3. Now, I actually used this team before in a different tour, or in a separate tour, I believe. But yeah, I brought this team. Specs Empo, Calm Mind Lottie, Passotar, Sub-Zone, Spadef Rose, and Scarf Gone. Now, this team, I love this team so much. It's so fun. But the matchup I had against Estarossa is just ridiculously good for this game. So I'm gonna show you how good it was. Turn 1, he leads Machamp as I lead Empoleon. Now, Machamp lead can mean a couple things. Well, actually, yeah, it means a couple things. It means that Machamp can be Sash or it can be Lum. Also, it's no guard, by the way. It's no guard. All Machamps are no guard in DPP because you get the most out of it. I guess you could run Guts, but I've never seen Guts. Well, actually, except that one time, but except that one time. But yeah, Empo is a very strong lead against Estarossa because Pump can potentially kill if he's not Sash. If he's Sash, I mean, it's still a trade anyway. But if he's not, then I get a free kill. And I do get a free kill with my Specs Empo, yes sir. Rose is in here. I go for Pump again, as my Empoleon's actually faster than his Rose. So that definitely told me a lot about what kind of Rose that is. That's a very, very bulky Rose. But also it's very slow as well. So probably having like no speed. But seeing as how much Pump did, I'm gonna show you the calc on that. Empo, like, Specs Empo is so strong. I Specs Empo versus Rose. Again, depending on the kind of variant he is, which nowadays a lot of Rose are like Spadef. Or at least at the time of this game, Spadef Rose was on the rise. I don't know if it still is right now. Somebody in the comments has been playing DPP recently. Tell me if Spadef Rose is still like around right now. I'm curious about that. But yeah, not this lead. That's a different lead. Rose. Let's see Spadef Rose if I could find it. Spikes. Okay, so this is like a more Spadef variant. So yeah, Pump does a lot to Spadef Rose. Does 34 to 40%. That is a lot of damage. So that's a ton from Specs and Empoleon. That's just insane to me. But yeah, seeing as how much damage that's doing to Rose, he's pretty much forced to, you know, Stun Spore me or go for Spikes. And he does go for a T-Spike first. I do have my own Rose in the back, so I'm okay with this. I go for Pump again. He gets the Stun Spore off and does paralyze me. So now what I can do is go for pump again anyway, because like I don't really care, or I can just go Rose and remove the T-Spike, which I do. He goes for Ice Beam, doing no damage to me as my Rose is Spadef. I get the Spike down too, as he's going to go into Heat-Turn on the switch as I go for Protect here. Now going for Tech was okay, but going for Spike would have been even better, because I would have put even more pressure on his Rose too. And also on whatever the switching was as well, because the Starmie isn't going to stay in, seeing as how much Ice Beam did. And yeah, that did 32%. So that Starmie might either be very... I think, actually, let me check my Rose real quick. My Rose is very Spadef. Like, it's max Spadef. So I don't know if the Starmie was, like, fully offensive. I could calc it right now just to see. Actually, I can just put the investment in anyway. Let's put max Spadef. Nope, that is not it. 252 versus Rose, or versus Starmie. Judging by how much that did, he wasn't Life Orb either, I believe. So he might have been something like this with Ice Beam over Surf. Let's see, Ice Beam with no investment. I'm curious about how much that actually does. No investment, Ice Beam, 29 to 33%, and Ice Beam did 32%. So you might have been somewhere around. He might have been no speed or no investment. So yeah, it seems to be a more defensively oriented Starmie, but yeah, that's important to note there. It's very important to note that seeing as how much Ice Beam did there. So getting the Protect off there was okay, but again, the Spike would have been even better since that applied pressure to Heat-Turn too. But yeah, I get the Protect there. I can go for another one to see what he does, but I actually go Lottie here instead, which again is fine. He probably predicted the double Protect too, because I mean, he probably predicted double Protect and also the switch in anyway, because I mean, like, he gets a lot of momentum out of this now. So I bring in Lottie, and now Lottie can apply pressure at this point. Now with Estarossa, what he could have done, he could have went for Boom too, but going for Boom doesn't seem that safe, because I mean, like, you don't know what else I have in the back. At this point, but he's also down 2 months practically, so he could have applied pressure to me and just went for the Boom anyway, just sacking Tran. But again, he doesn't know what I have at this point. And him sacking Tran, or I mean him, going for Boom on Tran. Like, realistically, if he went for Boom, it probably would have hurt me. Like, actually, Lottie staying in here against Tran is also dangerous too, because again, the Boom is potentially there, and also he could be passive too. But it doesn't seem like he's passive because he has 2 other water resists here. One being very defensively bulky, and the other one, just naturally checking non-psychic Lottie. I guess even Draco, but Draco's kind of iffy too. But yeah, the Heat-Turn's not staying in. It's not passive. So what I can do is go for a Calm Mind here pretty safely. And I can just Draco. So I go for the Draco. He goes for, yeah, I'm also faster than him too. So he had no speed. So that died. Impo comes in. And now this is where things get crazy. This is where things get real crazy. I'm going to say right now, my Rose has HP Fire. Which isn't really the best to handle Impo. So what I have to do is I have to go Rose, because Rose is my only Spadef wall for this. He goes for Agility. Now, my Rose is Spadef, as I mentioned already. It can actually take a hit from this fairly well. It can take an Ice Beam. It can take a Hydro Pump. As you guys saw, his own Rose taking Hydro Pump. So, I know Rose. I have a lot of confidence that Rose can take this on. He goes for Substitute, as I go for the Grass Knot. Now, I can't sub here. The reason why I can't sub here is because that gives him potential to freeze me. Also, he can put himself into a Pataya Berry range. I don't want him to do that. Or I don't want that to happen. But pretty much he's going to try and do it, or even try and go for a freeze. He doesn't get the freeze. I go for the Grass Knot, and he gets a crit. Now, I want to mention how important that crit is. Let's see. So, Rose, again, going with the same investment as this one. And Empo being Agility. Agility Empo after Grass Knot, or after that Grass Knot, since he was at, I believe, he was at, let's go back to that turn real quick. He was at 63%. He would have been close to, actually no, he would have been in Pataya Berry range. He would have been in Pataya Berry range after that. We're not after, well no, yeah, he would have been in Pataya Berry range after one sub, and he would have killed me afterwards. So this is very important to note that. Like, it's very important to note that. But also, another thing to really consider is that I still have my own Empo, and Empo hasn't taken damage yet. So I can live at least one hit and then fire back a Surf and knock him out if I get the pair, of course. Or I mean, if I don't get paralyzed, which is also important to note there. But yeah, the crit mattered a lot, but I still had Empo to kind of get around it. But yeah, that crit really mattered, and I believe he just forfeits after this. But yeah, I get the crit. He goes Dragonite on turn 13, and pretty much at this point, he goes for the sub there on my Flygon as I go for the Outrage there. He's gonna go for DD as I actually just go for Outrage again since I'm locked in. Outrage won't do that much to Heatran as he is gonna be forced to go into that. So I go for Outrage again. I do 28%, which is decent damage, but now he can just boom here if he wants to. So I go Rose here and just sack it as I actually get the 2-turn, which really mattered right there. So he gets the boom there, and now pretty much Flygon can win, and that's gonna be GG. So yeah, whole lot of things to really break down here. Gotta say it, we got very lucky with the 2-turn Outrage. If we got the 3-turn, yeah, if we got the 3-turn, well, no, Lottie still would have won. But still, that could have been a little dangerous, you know, barring, you know, drops and dodges and everything. But yeah, very interesting game here, very interesting final game. Still, I really enjoyed the series a lot, and I hope you guys did too, and enjoy my breakdown. Hopefully I wasn't too fast for you all, but I just wanted to, you know, like show you guys the match I had. Still, probably one of the best tour games I had this year, honestly. Which is I don't know if I want to say that's disappointing. Because I feel like I didn't play a whole lot of tours this year. I really wanted to play more tours this year, I did, but I don't know. I don't know. Like, especially during the summer, like it was kind of just shifting between, you know, it was just kind of shifting a lot. Like, I really wanted to play more tour games, but my tours weren't really that great. But yeah, I just kind of, and pretty much like after this match, or after round 2, I pretty much had burnout and just, you know, decided to take the month off and stop playing. So yeah. But still, I gotta say that before my burnout, this is probably the best I've done. Granted, we got lucky, especially in game 2. We got stupidly lucky in game 2, but yeah. Still, I thought this was a very fun series, though. I hope you guys enjoyed my breakdown and everything. If you guys did, please make sure to leave a like and comment on the video. Again, let me know your thoughts on the game and whatnot. And if you're gonna get Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, what's your team gonna be like? I'd like to know that in the comments below. And yeah. Subscribe as well. I'm on my way to reaching 430 subs soon. We're just 2 subs away, by the way, just 2. So I'd like to hit that goal soon. And then by the time we hit that goal, I'd like to hit 450 by the end of the month. So if we can do that all in 1 month, that'd be fantastic. So yeah, that's that. Hope you guys enjoyed. Be safe, wash your hands, and I'll see you for some more Pokemon DPP content. Be safe, wash your hands, and peace out.